Hi everyone, again Xenia here with your Moon Tarot talk or Moon Tarot report for the forthcoming new moon in Scorpio this time. I was very much looking forward to this moon because I don't know, somehow deep down I very much relate to Scorpio, though I don't have any meaningful transitions in Scorpio in my chart, but I absolutely relate to Scorpionic energy somehow. I don't know, as they say that Capricorns, they are very good with Scorpios. They can kind of match the vibe, the Scorpionic vibe, which is otherwise can seem a bit dark, you know, a bit like too much intense. But I absolutely love Scorpio. Scorpios, happy birthday for those of you who are celebrating birthday, or if you already had celebrated, then happy belated birthday. And again, a very eventful moon, as pretty much all the lunations in 2020 and 2020 in general. Let me know in the comments if you feel like, how are you surviving the second wave and how life has been treating you in the Mars retrograde and all the other things. Personally, I'm very tired of 2020. I wouldn't mind to get some external stimuli by now, you know, kind of. It's nice to be on your own. It's nice to have enough time to think about your life, to probably reconsider certain things and, I don't know, pay more attention on your internal processes. But sometimes it's too much. We were not brought to this life as, I don't know, hermits. Not all of us, at least, right? And we are meant actually to reconnect with the others and to bring kind of what's inside, to bring it outwards. But look, one day this will happen, probably 2021, after the royal conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter will get us some oomph, like some push forward. But so far we are where we are. And this moon in Scorpio, again, it's not about anything outwardly. It is probably more than any previous trends. It's about going inwards. So the moon is happening on the 14th, the 15th of November, depending on where you are in the world. And it is happening obviously in the conjunction with the sun, hence the new moon, at 23 degrees Scorpio. So at the very kind of last already degrees of Scorpio. It is aspecting the almost conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn, because Pluto is now at 22 degrees, not now, by the time of the new moon, 22 degrees Capricorn. Jupiter is 23 degrees Capricorn. Venus is at 22 degrees Libra. So it is square Pluto, you know, there is a clash between Venus and Pluto. And I suppose I'm not really good with these calculations in astrology. Let me know in the comments if I'm right or wrong, but I think it's a trine, yeah, from Scorpio to Capricorn. And this conjunction of Pluto and Jupiter, you know, many astrologers are calling it the millionaire conjunction. Well, I'm a Capricorn and my natal sun is at 21 degrees Capricorn, so it's very close to my personal transit, you know. I can't say I became a millionaire recently. Unfortunately, I wish I could say something different, but no, I didn't become a millionaire, which is a little bit of a disappointment. But yeah, but look, it didn't happen to me. But nonetheless, maybe it would happen for some other Capricorns. I don't know. And so the new moon is actually trining. Let's pretend it's trining. I hope it is, but I'm not very good at those aspects anyway. Or sextiling, probably. Probably it's a sextile, right? Please let me know, someone who's better in astrology than me. Let's call it an aspect for the time being, yeah? So the new moon is aspecting Pluto, right? Which is the ruling planet of Scorpio, yeah? And who is Pluto? Pluto and Scorpio, they are dark magicians, they are shamans, they are the heralds of transition, of transformation, and those are going to be our keywords for today's talk, for today's discussion. Transition, let's pick up this word, right? And transition, transformation, change, closure of the previous things, beginning of the new things, in conjunction with Jupiter, with expansion. So we are really invited to think extremely deep, because Scorpio is about depth. It is all about depth and going deeper and descending deeper and deeper, like, you know, in your soul. And it is the invitation to expand our awareness of this transition and transformation that we are invited to do at the moment. Because absolutely, I don't think a single human being left untouched by 2020, besides probably, you know, this Amazon CEO who really became a millionaire, you know, speaking of Pluto conjunction, because everyone is ordering things online. But in general, like, I mean, not many people are facing expansion during this year. Expansion of experiences, expansion of networks, expansion of material, financial abundance. Not many of us. We are more put inside of the limitations. And this is kind of like, you know, the starting point for a quest, for an internal quest. You know how all fairy tales start? All the fairy tales start with the lack. While you have everything in abundance, you don't move. You move when you're lacking something. Like, you know, the main character, who is like a fool, he's a young man, he leaves the house, like, you know, and he goes on a quest. In Russian folktale we say, to kind of to see the world and to show himself to the world, right? It's a lack of experience, it's a lack of wife for a young protagonist. So it always starts with a lack, and the lack is pushing us. The lack is the ultimate kind of like kick in the butt, sorry, which makes us progress somewhere in life. And when I was preparing for the talk today, a tale came to my mind, because I was thinking of death and of the, like, you know, death and depth and the kind of like going inwardly down. And the tale that I remembered is Sumerian / Babylonian Akkadian narrative, which is called Inanna's Descent to the Netherworld. I'm sure some of you may know about it. Some of you not. In case someone is interested in reading it in English translation, let me know and I'll post the link in the comments. There is a beautiful corpus of Sumerian literature online, where you can find all the examples translated into English of Sumerian poetry. They are heartbreakingly beautiful, breathtakingly, maybe this is the better expression how to classify it. Absolutely beautiful. And the Inanna's Descent to the Netherworld, it is kind of like one of my personal sort of like mental hooks, if I can use this expression, which I just made up. It is absolutely hauntingly beautiful tale about going to the netherworld. And it starts with the formulaic repetition of the verse, the goddess turned her gaze from the skies downwards. The goddess turned her gaze from the upper heavens to the netherworld, you know? And if we take this metaphorically, it is ultimately about turning your gaze from outwards to inwards. That's what it means, right? And what is happening is that Inanna, Ishtar, would be the other name. It is the goddess, the Sumerian, Babylonian goddess of love, fertility, at the same time of war. Eastern deities, they're probably not that we are used very much to Roman mythology, probably, which is more kind of like clear for us. Yeah, there is the Apollo, the god of good things. There is Mars, the god of destruction, you know. But in ancient mythologies, and for example in Indian religion, there are like all those concepts are together. Same in Egypt, you know, that Bast as the goddess of love, you know, and like this cat goddess, she's the goddess of love and fertility and protection of babies and all things good. But like in her other personification, in her other embodiment, she's this lioness whose name is Hathor, I think, to be honest. I'm not sure now, don't quote me on this one. And she's the goddess of war, of destruction, of plague, you know. She's this ravenous, a very like, you know, violent lioness, you know, who's aggressive, who's like all about the destruction of the world as we know it. And Ishtar is the, I think the Babylonian name, Inanna is the Sumerian name. She's the goddess of fertility and of the cycles of nature, but also of death, not of death, but more like of war, of destruction, and so on. Inanna is associated with Venus, with Venus, I think, is the morning star. And in general, this tale, Descent of Inanna's to Netherworld, it was interpreted by many scholars as actually the kind of tale which describes the astrology and the movement of Venus, when Venus becomes invisible, hence the descent, and then she's reborn as the morning star after being an evening star for a while. But what is interesting here is that Inanna for some reason decides to go to hell. We get absolutely no explanation as to why she decided to do so, but she ultimately decides to go to hell to meet her sister Ereshkigal, who is the goddess of the netherworld, who is the goddess of kind of like the death of nature, the cycles, the kind of the negative part of the cycle. Not the negative, it's again a very emotive word, very modern word, but let's say of those kind of darker parts of the cycle, when the earth is barren, when it's winter, and so on and so on. And Inanna so decides to go to hell and to the netherworld, and she dresses up in all her symbols of power. So she's fully ready to face this kind of the depth of the abyss, you know, and it is ultimately about the journey of the soul inwards. So she takes all her symbols, which signify all her paraphernalia, which signify that she is a queen, that she is a goddess, that she is an extremely powerful deity. She has, like, you know, the staff, which symbolizes her power. She has like certain earrings, certain pectorals, like those necklaces. She has a special pali dress. It's kind of like the dress which only noble women were supposed to wear. She has like some head dress, you know, and some things from turquoise, from lapis lazuli, so like from precious gemstones, yeah. And Ereshkigal learns that Inanna is about to go to the netherworld, and she asks her servant in the netherworld to not to allow Inanna to pass the 7 gates, which is the ultimate descent. You need to go through the 7 gates, but to ask her to give one of her items at the gates. So she arrives fully dressed in all this gorgeous, like, you know, jewelry and dresses, and it's not only about the panache and the impression, but those are also things that symbolize herself, yes, that represent what is she inside: a goddess, a queen, a noble woman, a powerful lady, and so on. And at each single gate, in order to pass, she needs to give one thing to this guy Neti, who is the guardian of the netherworld. And she gives one thing and another thing, and her pectoral, and her lapis lazuli earrings, and her rings, and her dress, and everything. And they strip her. When you go down, 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 you're stripped of all those signs of respect, of how you show yourself to the world, of how you want to be seen in the world. You come to the last gate totally naked. And that's what is happening to her. And Ereshkigal is asking, so what's the story? Why did you come to visit me? And Inanna says, oh, I came to participate in the funeral rituals of your husband. It is, I don't know, like, I don't think that the text is complete, so I don't know if it is the excuse that she's making or if it is really the case. But I suppose the thing is that unless you're dead, you cannot visit the other world. So Inanna here is violating a very important basic principle of the foundation of this world. And Ereshkigal puts her to a trial. And the judges, as the story says, they looked at her, their look, death. They spoke to her, their words, wrath, kind of anger, you know. And by this look of death, they put her to death. So Inanna dies. This naked Inanna, stripped of all her things, she dies, and somehow, interestingly enough, they put her on a hook. I'm not a specialist in Sumerian literature. I'm totally an amateur. I'm specialist in different literatures. In Irish one, which has very little to do with Sumerian literature besides the common topics, you know. But when I read it as an amateur and as a person who knows a little bit about like the world imagery and so on, I can't help thinking of the Hanged Man card in the tarot, you know, which is the card which we don't like because it's the card of delay, of procrastination, but it is also ultimately the card of this sacrifice, of this self-sacrifice, which allows you to gain a new perspective, to change your worldview, your point of view 180 degrees, to see the situation differently, to see out of the box. So it is ultimately the unpleasant, uncomfortable card, which nonetheless gives us a promise of something new, of a new way of seeing things, which is what? A rebirth. Technically a rebirth of your mind, of the way you look at things. And when you change your attitude, you're basically changing, you're reborn in a certain way. Yeah? And so they put her on a hook. And I don't know an explanation within the Sumerian tradition about this, but in terms of like world archetypes and iconography, this Hanged Man card seems very symptomatic to me. And before Inanna was going to hell, she knew that it's a very dangerous thing to do. So she asked her friend and her servant Ninshubur, in case she will not return, to go and ask the high gods for help. And in Shubur, she goes and visits all the main Sumerian gods. She visits Enlil and I don't remember the names of them. Remember, there is Enlil, there is also someone else. And she visited the 3 gods, and they all refused. They said, well, Inanna knew what she was doing. Like, she knew. She violated the rules of this world. She was alive, and she decided to go to hell. That's not what's supposed to be. And then the high god Enki, who is the father of all gods, he becomes very compassionate to the story, and he creates 2 kind of golems, 2 people from the dirt, and he gives them the life-giving water and the life-giving plant, kind of grass or weed, and he sends them to the netherworld, and he says, look, they will be offering you different things, but you refuse anything. You say, we want to see the lady, the Inanna, the dead Inanna, give us her. So that's what they do. They go to the other world, those 2 guys, and they ask Ereshkigal to give them the corpse of Inanna. And they sprinkle the plant of life on her and the water of life on her, and she is restored. But she is restored after facing the look of death. She is a completely new human being. And ultimately she starts her ascent after this. She's allowed to leave the other world. The tale continues, because then she needs to give a replacement for her in the other world, because no one can leave the realm of the dead just like this without leaving a replacement. But it's the second part of the story, which doesn't concern us here. The story attracted massive attention of people who deal with literature, with mythology, absolutely great attention since it was first discovered and translated, and absolutely pretty much, I think, anonymously, it was seen as the transformation of the soul, as a legend which describes the deep psychological process of going inside, of dying symbolically, and of being reborn. So it is about your descent into the unconsciousness. It is about the shadow work. The meeting of Inanna and Ereshkigal was seen as the union of the light part of your soul with the dark part of your soul, with your dark alter ego, and the ultimate union of it. Interestingly enough, the Sumerian legend ends with the sentence, praise be to you, Ereshkigal, which makes absolutely no sense, because the story is about Inanna, unless we take Inanna and Ereshkigal as one, as those kind of duplets of goddesses, one of whose is reigning the kind of light part of the universe, and the other one, the dark part of the universe, which are ultimately connected. There is no light without shadow. Yeah, there is no shadow without light. There is no rebirth before death, and the cycles of nature, like seasons and so on. This is all deeply, this is all part of our world, it's all correct. It's not that there is good and bad, that's how it is. And I believe that what we are supposed to do during the Scorpio new moon, with this, with this aspect of Pluto, with those undertones of shamanism and traveling again, shaman is traveling, in the 3 worlds. And it is all about this kind of like descent into the unconsciousness and a deep thinking of what needs to be closed and what needs to face this look of death, as in the legend of Inanna, you know. And there is actually an extremely interesting tarot spread which was made by the German tarologist Hayo Banshoff. And I do this tarot spread, and I do it to myself sometimes in the points of crisis. It is extremely interesting spread because it is like, you know, you pick up card for Inanna, and then cards for Seven Gates, and then card for Reshkigal and for the dead Inanna. So all those things, you can see how this descent will affect you. In case you would like me to do this reading for you, you can still book a reading for me. We're still doing the minus 20% promotional price. So in case that's something, the shadow work reading, the alter ego reading is something appealing to you, we can work with it for sure. But on the different symbols of this scorpionic vibe and the new moon, yeah, why Scorpio? Scorpio is like a very dangerous creature, yeah. So Scorpio was believed, I don't know if it's true or not, yeah, that he has this venomous tail and he kills himself when he feels the danger. Now, I'm not promoting suicidal behavior here, please. We are talking about symbols here, yeah, but it is something about allowing part of you to die before being reborn. And when we talk of the Scorpio in tarot deck, yeah, because we always look at tarot cards which have astrological meanings. The tarot cards, which is Scorpio and Pluto, is death. For some reason, the card which absolutely everyone is afraid of. I also think that the mass media is not playing any good for us, like, you know, because whenever I'm watching a movie in which there is a potential tarot reader, she makes a reading for the main protagonist and there is a death card and he goes out and he's shot, you know, or like killed with something. No, that's not what it is. Paradoxically enough, the death card is probably one of the most positive cards in the tarot, the card that should be welcomed more often than not. And in tarot there are basically, like, I own a good number of decks, and I think that there are three main pictures of how the death card would be depicted. And the first one is, of course, like the classic one. I think I mentioned the tarot as such appeared as the card game in the Renaissance Italy, and obviously the iconography of a skeleton for death card, it is very medieval, you know. There is this medieval mind is obsessed with death in a way, yeah, but in a good way, in my opinion, as well, because they know that there is something more after we die, yeah, that it is ultimately a beneficial experience for the soul. And also this gives us a very precious perspective, because in many, you know, medieval churches you would see the skeleton, which is called memento mori, remember that you're mortal, remember that you will die. And it can say, me today, you tomorrow, you know, reminding us first of all to enjoy life daily, because things are finite. If things were eternal, we wouldn't enjoy them, you know. We enjoy things because we know that they will not last forever. But also to gain this kind of hopeful state that that's not the end, that things would just be evolving and progressing after we die, so that we can prepare for it. So yeah, first one would be the skeleton. That's the card people are afraid of. I implore you not to be afraid. There is nothing to be afraid of. If anything, it is this shadow without which there is no light. It is this winter without which there is no spring, you know. And it is like, it brings us into the very useful perspective of treasuring what we have, like, you know, because things will not last forever. Then the second, I think astrologists, knowing how people are afraid of this card, but knowing as astrologists that the meaning of this card is not that you're going to die the moment you see the card in your reading, but that it is about the transition. In more and more modern decks, the death card is depicted as the phoenix. Phoenix is the ultimate tarot symbol for death. And Phoenix has a very different vibe when you think of it, right? They speak of the same, the skeleton and the Phoenix, but I think it's probably easier to take. And when you are not working with tarot professionally, that's easier to interpret, that's easier to see where things are going with this card. Phoenix, yeah, what a hopeful card. If you're in deep shite, sorry, at the moment when things are not working for you, and I suppose like with this COVID thing, it's not working for all of us the way we expected on the 1st of January 2020. It is a very hopeful card that as Phoenix is born, as Christ was resurrected, then so it will be for us one day as well, you know. And the third image, which is kind of uniting the two concepts in also very many decks, it's like this. So there is a Phoenix as well on this one. So they gave you both, you know. There is a Phoenix, but there is also this hooded figure without a face. Because it speaks of the fact that death and transition is very impartial. It is, and it is, when you think of it deep down, it is an extremely good news that it is absolutely impartial. Change is coming to your life. God is sending you the change. God is telling you, oh, it's not working for you. It's time to end. That's the way you should go, and it will end. And they're not asking you whether you want to stay there or you need to move. It might be scary, it might be sometimes uncomfortable, but because ultimately it is to your highest good. And there is this figure, there is also here a lovely glowing butterfly, which is the symbol of the soul, yeah, soul, which is flying from the dead body, immortal soul, which is going to be reborn, yeah. Here there is the cycle of planets, there is the circle, you know, because it's the circle of death and rebirth. It's not the linear way, it is all in a circle, you know. But yeah, he's hooded, he has no face, it is a secret. It is all about the deep mystery, and that's what Scorpio is about. Deep mystery of the soul, deep mystery of life as such, and we are invited to participate in it, not to watch from the distance, to be part of it. I think it's extremely interesting. And that's why I probably love the Scorpio, because Scorpio is our collective eighth house of transformation, of magic, of changing things, of responding to the calls we are getting, you know. And it is better to respond, because the first call would be like knock, 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 and then when you are absolutely deaf towards this call of change, the 10th knock would be a mallet on your head, you know. You ask people who went through massive changes, when you neglect the call to change, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be more and more intense every time. So we need to be attentive and listen to those calls. And also, speaking of the death card, when it comes to the reading straight, it is transition, transformation, mutation. Are those good words? Yes, they're good. They're about development. Closure of things that no longer serve you. Planting in the darkness the seeds of the new, which are invisible, which are dead. Seed, it's the, you know, the legend, yeah, that the seed is like a dead person who's buried, but then he's growing the green shoot, yeah. Moving forward, welcoming the change, changing internally in order to see the external change. All those things, when it comes reversed to the reading, stagnation, resistance to change, attachment, unhealthy clinging to the old habits and ways. Is it good? No, it's just a disaster, to be honest. It's the recipe for depression, for apathy. This one is about this momentum, something like, you know, in astrology when the planet is stationing direct after retrograde before moving forward. That's pretty much the vibe of the death card. Yes, it is about this darkness going inward. Nothing is happening outside, but it is about gaining momentum for a change. And That's what it is. That's all extremely, extremely useful to think of. And the fact that Scorpio is inviting us to think of it is interesting, because we are not very often thinking of death or of danger. Modern society is pretty much agnostic, you know. We don't have like some communal rituals. It depends which religion you're following. It depends if you're part of the parish or not, or if you do spiritual things in your life on your own. But as general, as the collective, as the city, as the village, as the district, we are not participating in any rituals together, you know. And we don't really think as a collective of those topics, which is doing us no favor, in my opinion, because then there is fear, then those topics become taboo. It's all about staying young forever, being like, you know, immortal, not caring about such things. It's nothing good, because like those concepts are pushed to the back of your brain where they are just rotting, you know. And you know, Goya, this artist, he has this he has one of his not paintings, because I think it's a graphic, you know, graphic drawing, which is called I'm sorry, I know only the title in Russian. I will try to translate in English. The kind of the sleep of reason gives birth to monsters, you know. So when you're not rationally working with concepts, they become monsters. And Scorpio is telling, stop this bullshit, seriously. You need to pick up on those now, to think of it, to make peace with certain things, and to accept change and transformation, and see how actually beneficial it is for us ultimately, right? So before we start our reading, I wanted to talk a little bit about crystals and so on, because the new moon is the time to set intentions, and to work with the new moon energy, I think, is very often more productive even than to work with the full moon energy. At least I personally prefer it. And so our key words for this new moon in Scorpio, it is death. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. Not death, depth, from deep, yeah, going deep, depth. Healing, realignment, transition, transformation. Let me have a look what else I have. Union with the dark self, like Inanna and Ereshkigal. Seeking the answers inside, knowing yourself better, yeah? Harmonious self-knowledge. Making, I mean, we are changing all the time as personalities. You need to make acquaintance with yourself every time you change, right? And the sound that we would pick up, I would pick up the kalimba, you know. I will link the kalimba meditation down below. Kalimba is a very watery sound, yeah. It really has the sound of the water, and Scorpio is a water symbol, so our element is obviously water. And the colors would be all, in my opinion, like black, navy, something really deep, purple, very deep purple, crystal clear. And the crystals I picked up for you today is very similar. So we will start with the amethyst, yeah. Amethyst, the etymology of amethyst from Greek is non-drunken, because it was supposed that this stone cures this the state of intoxication, yeah. So when you drink too much, it was supposed that amethyst has the power to restore your sobriety, and that's why it became such a powerful esoteric stone, because it is about restoring your state of non-intoxication. We are kind of all intoxicated with life, but the stone is about clearing your mind, opening your third eye, yeah, the purple color of the crown chakra, and about opening your eyes. And I suppose the mantra is that I open my eyes and I see clearly, like a person who was drunk and then sobered up, something like this, yeah. The second stone as a homage, as an honor to Inanna Ishtar, who went to the netherworld wearing her lapis lazuli, goddessy sacred jewelry, is lapis lazuli, yeah, the ancient most divine stone of Egypt, of Sumer and Babylon, of all those like Eastern ancient civilizations. And the mantra of lapis lazuli is that I'm aligned with the divine inner truth. It's the stone of truth ultimately. The next one is black tourmaline. Obviously, I picked up all the black dark stones. Black tourmaline is a powerful protective stone. The mantra for it is that I am protected. I am protected spiritually. I am protected on my journey. I am protected on my journey, you know, and in my quest for the truth. Everybody should have one because it's supposed to kind of attract negative energy and block it from you in your house. The next one is, clear quartz, which I have here a cluster, like pretty, really pretty quartz inside. And quartz, clear quartz is a stone of amplification. Here's another one, yeah, a pointy one. It's an amplifying stone, and let the mantra for it be, my desire to know myself better is amplified and enlightened. Because there are so many facets from which the light is reflected, yeah, so it is like a torch of light on our journey. Then next one is very shamanic stone, the labradorite, the one with the beautiful reflections inside, the ultimate stone of transformation, of many colors hidden in one, you know. And the mantra I invented for it was, I am attuned to magic, to secrets and the holy journeys of the universe, the holy processes, yeah. So it is something on looking behind the veil of not being satisfied with what the eyes see, but looking for what the spirit can see as well. And the last one, but not least, very important, it's galena. Galena is a stone which has lead, you know, the metal, the poisonous metal inside. So I suppose the kind of the undertone of Scorpio being a venomous insect is reflected in the fact that the lead is a poisonous metal, you know, so you need to be careful with the stone. Galena is a very heavy, extremely heavy stone, like it's really like, you know, like a small weight. It is an extremely grounding stone. It is the stone of protection. Why did I say that it is like a weight? We can't kind of go on a spiritual journey without being grounded. We would just fly away. We need to have rope, put a stone on the rope, put to our feet, like, you know, so that we can fly, but still part of us ties us to the ground so that we can return. So that's what Galena is about. All the stones we looked before, they were very spiritual, very esoteric, very occult, very strong, like powerful spiritual stones. And this one is just an extremely spirit grounding stone, what is needed when you are going deep down, you know. When Inanna went to Netherworld, she knew how dangerous it would be. She didn't leave without telling anyone. She left to her best friend in Shubur that, look, if I'm not returning, please ask for help. Do this, this, and this. And Nin Shubur saved her, and she was a faithful servant, you know. So Galena is our Nin Shubur in this regard. It reminds us that before we go deep down, we still need to leave a part of us on earth in order to be able to return. So that's what it is about. It is about harnessing powers and knowing that you are fully protected. Have a blessed new moon in Scorpio. I hope that was useful, and we will have the reading now. Well, and so the reading. Okay, look, this time I'm really sorry for people who were waiting to sign by sign reading. We will pick up the sign by sign reading next time, yeah, but I thought that personally I find it a good idea to alternate sign by sign readings with collective readings, because whatever I do, I rush through sign by sign readings. Yeah, I can take no more than 3 cards per sign, because otherwise my videos would be like 3 hour long. You know, they're already like 2 hour long when I do sign by sign reading. And I somehow feel that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people, I know, of course, I'm not an exception. People want to hear some personal message, you know. But I think it is an illusion, to be honest, to a big, because how much personal are readings? Like, you know, there are billions of Sagittariuses in the world. Like, you know, are they all going to experience same during the full new moon? No, not really, to be honest. So it really very much depends on the other, of like, you know, what kind of person you are and so on. So I personally find collective readings more useful, because it allows me, first of all, to talk longer about cards, to give you a proper reading. I mean, instead of reading which is rushed, it allows me to really speak in detail about each single card and the positions of the cards and the relationships between the cards. Yeah, then you can see how basically I work, how I do reading for my clients, in case you're thinking of ordering a reading. And another thing is that I somehow felt it very strongly that this new moon, which is happening for all of us, with this imperative of thinking of those cycles of the death and rebirth and of all those things, this will be better explained for a collective, because that's what I personally think, like, you know, that's what we are called to do. So instead of repeating myself for 12 signs, or like think more about what should be ended, what is love and what is life and death in your life and so on, instead of thinking of this, I thought that I would do a collective reading. We'll look at it together in detail. And I think that's how messages from the spirit work. Those collective readings, they're still personal, because depending on the situation where you are, you would pick up absolutely different things from what I'm telling. You would see different things on the same pictures of the cards, because pictures of the cards, they are like, you know, they're based on archetypes, on associative kind of application of art, you know. So you would single out different things, and all of you, even watching the collective reading, you would end up with personal messages, you know, because spirit speaks through me directly to you, you know, and it is like up to you what you are gonna pick up, like, you know, what you're gonna take with you, more probably that's a better one. So so we have at the end 9 cards, and those 9 cards, they would be kind of our journey of the spirit inwards, and we would see what it is all about. So far, when I look at it, I was absolutely surprised. I'm using a new deck. I would show you the package. It's called the Star Tarot by Kathy McClelland. Like this. I believe it's a very new deck. It's a 2nd edition reprint. I ordered it from bookdepository.com as a pre-order, you know, so it is like just hot out of the press. Absolutely love this new deck. I worked with it, just was working for it for the past 2 weeks, and I absolutely love the imagery. There's so rich in imagery. I was looking for a new deck, like to help me along with the Marielle Tarot, because like I love the decks in which every card is packed with symbols so that I can read it better. And yeah, I'm very happy with this deck, in case you're wondering which deck it is. And so far, looking at the cards which came for us today, I see that there is like a constant dialogue of yin and yang, of the sun and the moon, of black and dark, of life and death. That's exactly what we were talking about. Let's have a look. We begin, right? We begin. I better show on the cards. And our first card, yeah, the Emperor. The Emperor is Aries. Mars retrograde is actually finishing in Aries, also around the time of the moon. I think the new moon is what, 14th, 15th? And I think the Mars retrograde stops on the 14th as well. So it is the end of the cycle. Yeah, again, the Scorpio energy, the end of the cycle for all of us. So that's the Emperor. But this Emperor card, in my opinion, is very unusual. It has two hawks, which makes sense to me because the king is a hero. The king is the martial leader of the tribe, and the hawk, the eagle, is the symbol of this noble bird, you know. But this card, in my opinion, plays a trick on us because it borrows elements from a different card. It borrows the two horses from the Chariot card. The Chariot card, you know a little bit, it's a Cancer card, and there is this warrior in the chariot, and it has two horses, black and white. And it is about this warrior taking control of the two parts of his soul. And I want to read this Emperor card along those lines. The Emperor, he's the ultimate power. He's in control of everything. And in order to be a good emperor to his subjects, you know, to rule the land, he first needs to take control of what's inside, yeah, because as within, so without, yeah, so what's inside going to manifest outside. Before you can go and act in the world and manifest what you want, you need to change internally, and that's what the Scorpio new moon is about. And how you start this change is that you look at the two sides of your soul, at the two sides which are pushing your soul forward, which make you move forward, at your dark animal instinctive side of your, like, you know, dark desires, dark emotions, which is not necessarily bad in my opinion, because, like, you know, lots of great things are achieved, not grace too, but in spite of, yeah, lots of things are achieved when you want to show them, to prove something to some people, or, like, you know, when you're angry. I personally find anger is a good motivation, like, you know. So, but still it needs to be acknowledged, you know, and it needs to be controlled as well, because otherwise those negative emotions would take control of you, and that's not the situation in which you achieve many things. And then the light things that you're doing from the point of view of unconditional love, of, like, you know, nobility, of doing something because it needs to be done, not awaiting gratification, not waiting for payback, you know, things that you do just because your soul is inclined to do it, like, you know, the most, so more like egoistic tendencies, and I would say more angelic, those Christ-like tendencies of just giving because it needs to be given, not because you would receive something back. And the king is in the middle of all this, and he's taken full control of the dark side of his soul and of the light side of his soul. What else is speaking to us here? At the feet of the king, there is a dragon. The dragon in Chinese mythology, in, like, Asian, yeah, kind of in Korean, in Japanese, the dragon is the king. It is the symbol of the king, yeah. So in Korean royal garment, the king would have a portrait of the dragon on his chest, you know, and that's how the royal garment looks, like, with the dragon. The king is the royal dragon. In Chinese mythology and Japanese, dragon, unlike in Western mythology, in which dragon is associated with fire element, dragon is the water element creature. Dragon is our ultimate Scorpio. Dragon actually very much fits the Scorpionic concept, and in Japanese mythology, the king of the seas is a dragon. I don't remember his name, but it is a king. He resides in the beautiful palace at the bottom of the ocean, and he rules all the fish, all the sea creatures, and he's a dragon, you know, he's a noble dragon of the sea, king of the sea. So this dragon, who is the king of the sea, mirrors this emperor. But what is the king of the sea? Sea is unconsciousness. The ocean is emotions. What is hidden at the bottom, you know, it is about the descent into the unconsciousness, what we spoke about. And here king is resting his feet on this dragon. It's a little bit similar to how like Saint George is killing the dragon, or you know, in the pictures of Apocalypse, the wife dressed in sun who is killing the dragon, you know, from the Apocalypse of Saint John. The wife dressed in the sun who is like, you know, stepping and killing the dragon. It is Virgin Mary who is killing the devil, the sin, by giving birth to the Savior, you know. So it is about the control of your unconscious, of your subconscious. It is about knowing two parts very good and then stepping on them, controlling them, you know, making them subject to you instead of you being like, you know, and the kind of like in the trap of your desires, emotions, and of your like, you know, instincts. On the top of the king, there is this beautiful eclipse on the sun, the moon, and the star. Those are, of course, like the homage to the tarot cards, the planetary tarot cards, the moon, the sun, and the star. So the star in tarot is the card of angelic energy, soulmate energy, hope, ultimate faith, alignment with your inner self, surrendering to the divine, knowing that whenever you're going, wherever you're going, you're safe, you're protected. And so there is this eclipse of the moon, again, yin, dark, wet, feminine, passive, and yang, sun, white, active, like, you know, brilliant, glowing, exposed, manifested, active, like, you know, rushing forward. Again, here the eclipse, so the union of those two oppositions is giving birth to the star. The star is our guiding star, where God brings us to, where angels are and saints are telling us to go in full support and in full guidance, you know. Wow, a great deck, isn't it? That's one card, that's what we are getting. Then the next card that we are getting is the sun. We actually are getting absolutely great cards for this reading. Well, the sun, in general, I find the sun probably my number one card, most boring in any reading and tarot deck, because I don't know what to speak about it. Yes, sun is great. It's bliss, it's abundance, it's a positive dawn inside of you. But because this deck is actually helping me a lot, because here you see the sun has a butterfly, and again, yin and yang. We would see it on each single card, and I mean, like, there are about 78 cards in every deck, and I was working with it. Believe me, it's not that there is yin and yang on each of them. It's not that there are, like, you know, union of oppositions on every card. But in this reading, all the cards that came there with this imagery, as we have seen, black and white horse here, yin and yang. And it is, as I said, Inanna and Ereshkigal, as I was speaking in the introduction, the union of the goddess of light and the goddess of shadow, you know, the union of the conscious and the unconscious, and of all those concepts. That's what the kind of overarching topic for this new moon. And here is the butterfly. So this brings a totally different dimension to the sun, because it's not the sun in its zenith, it's the dawning sun. Butterfly is the symbol of the immortal soul, of the rebirth. So it is about being reborn. So you have harnessed as an emperor all your powers. You know how to control your dark side and your light side. You have faced it all. And this gives you this energy of the rebirth. Is it a comfortable place to be? No, not really. I'm personally going through this process right now. It's difficult, because what you saw brings you happiness no longer brings you happiness, and different things bring you happiness, you know. But it is exciting nonetheless, because you're giving birth to the new you. You are seeing the dawn of your new life, like, you know. There is this Depeche Mode song, yeah, something, it's the new dawn, it's the new life, it's the new something, yeah. For me, yeah, and Heaven, I think this song is called. And yeah, this just came to my mind. And this is kind of the butterfly which is ready to spring its wing. It is the infancy of your soul. And actually here there is, I didn't even notice before I said this, but there is the little baby, the sun baby, which is born here, like, you know. and the butterflies, the kind of the dance of the butterflies in the sun. So it is about different parts of your soul being reborn, you know, and reborn from the balance. From the point of balance, there is this lotus with 1,000 petals, like the Sahasrara, yeah, the Sanskrit name for the crown chakra, the 1,000-petaled lotus, you know, purple, the sound, the crown chakra thing. So it is a rebirth from the harnesses, from the development of your crown chakra. So it's not the literal rebirth, but it is the rebirth of the new conscious, the rebirth of your third eye, the rebirth of your inner child, the restart of the cycle anew. And third card which we get in the first row is Princess of Cups, and this is kind of like our condition for this to happen. And the Princess of Cups, it is Scorpio, Pisces, or Cancer. So the Princess of Cups, we were just talking, and it basically has all the elements we were talking about. She is the lady, a very young lady of the water sign, in case you know someone. This might be an important person to reconnect to at the moment. And we see actually here the new moon, yeah? We see her holding the cup, the Holy Grail, and then we see something absolutely magnificent, something that David Attenborough would approve of, you know, because we see the evolution. Okay, there are those dolphins, yeah, okay, but because Prince of Cups, she's like a mermaid, she lives at the bottom of the sea, she is constantly in touch with the ocean of her emotions, of her subconscious. Cup is the suit of water, suit of emotions, feelings, experiences inside, like, you know, working with all the realm of how you feel and experience things. So she's connected with it. She's the Scorpio which goes deep. There is an ancient temple here. There is some figurine of the goddess. I don't know if you can see here or not. It is knowing your roots, knowing where you're coming from. And it is also, if you can see what I said, this evolution. There is this fish, then the fish grows wings, the fish jumps out and then becomes a pigeon, or the dove, sorry. So it is like, you know, it is really something like from the book of biology for the, like, you know, for the second grade, or something from the David Attenborough documentaries about the life on Earth. But it is how we are going through it, like, you know, all those cards are about transformation, about growing wings, about change, shape-shifting, becoming something new, you know. And this shape-shifting with, like, you know, the dolphins and the tortoise, all those animals of the sea, animals of the emotions, you know, this change becomes possible because there is this divine glowing energy of this grail, and grail is the symbol of the divine energy of unconditional love, of the connection with your higher self, you know. And that's what this scorpionic beautiful princess, I mean, like, yeah, she has, you see, she has also like lotus flowers on her cloak, and there is even again the Sahasrara, you know, again this lotus flower. So it is about creating, maybe even when you don't feel like this, when you don't feel that inspired and this, like, you know, when you're feeling low, still trying to create the state of tranquility, peace. I'd say so far in all the three cards we've seen so far, meditation is the word which has come to the mind. It's not the moon to do, like, you know, great achievements and write massive intentions of kind of, like, you know, achieving something or progressing somewhere or going somewhere. It is mostly about the meditative, contemplative state of mind and understanding what's right for you and what's wrong, and what requires the ending and what requires this metamorphosis of this fish into the bird. And the bird is ultimately flying towards this new moon and the grail cup in order to reconnect with this divine love, like, you know, and knowing better your higher self. I presume that's the case. So far, all of them were very beneficial, right? But we will see that you can see here, right, that the Emperor card underneath is this card. Underneath is the Prince of Swords. And I suppose this kind of gives the more explained, detailed explanation of what needs to be done. So the king, he already took power of his white and black horse, but here the warrior is in the battle of it. He's in the battle. How do we achieve this? How do we achieve that those two horses, they're very like, you know, tame and controlled behind our throne? We wage a war against it first. Here again, like, you know, the knight is having the sigils of butterflies, the sigils of new life, purple cloak, yeah, the royal color, the color of the blood of Christ, so the color of this altruistic love and self-sacrifice, and all things like, you know, fiery and noble, and all this kind of boiling blood inside of your veins. And then there are those dark ravens, like, you know, dark ravens, and again some sort of like the dark moon, you know. So the dark moon is Lilith, you know, and Lilith, Lilith is a completely different talk, yeah, in astrology, because it is a negative. It is the dark moon. It's a negative part. Some people think that it is negative because it was affected by the Christian worldview, that, like, you know, independent, passionate woman would be considered as something negative. But we're not here in the discussion of the Lilith. In general, new moon, like, you know, if you remember this opera aria, like, you know, Casta Diva, yeah, the chaste, the pure diva, yeah, the pure lady, you know, which the heroine is singing to the moon, you know. The full moon, the moon in such, it gives us the idea of something like, you know, pure, angelic, like, you know, virgin, untouched, absolutely beautiful, like, you know, things of like an angel in her pearly feathers, like, you know, in the sky. She looks like a pearl, right? And the dark moon Lilith, it is still about, like, you know, all those instincts inside, all those like, you know, dark things in the soul. I'm not saying they're bad, but they're definitely more difficult to handle, you know. And there is this dark moon Lilith, and there are those like two ravens, and the guy is kind of, he has a sword and he's waging the war against it, because before you achieve this control, you need to do a quite hard work of figuring out what your fears are and getting rid of them, knowing how to suppress them, but actually even looking at them, even seeing them, because here it's not that those enemies are hidden from his sight. He sees them in full light, like, you know, it's not at the night that they are having this battle. He sees them in full light. Even the dark moon, like, you know, she's behind the cloud, but still it's full day, like, you know. So to see them, to know them, and then knowing that you are protecting with those like butterflies and the symbol of new life. So it, I mean, like, I'm repeating myself whatever I'm doing, because I think my thought sometimes like goes in a loop. I think that it's important to repeat things so that people would get them fully. I'm sorry if someone is fed up already with me like preaching here, but yeah, I mean, like, those two cards are definitely coming in a tandem, you know, because that's how you achieve this state. That's like this. And then the sun, under the sun, in the very heart of our reading, we have justice. And justice is all about the balance, yeah. It's all about the black and white and balancing things. And again, her the sword, the sword from the suit of swords, which represents like air, reason, and mental ideas. It is tapped into water, into the unconscious. Whatever you're doing, you're acting from the place of compliance with your emotional state. And I think during this new moon, it's really very important not to force yourself, not to agree to do things which are unpleasant to you, but to basically always do things, agree to things, act from the position of checking if deep down my emotions feel comfortable from it, if I feel emotionally comfortable to do this. Constant check-in with the whirlpool of your emotions, you know. Justice is Libra, yeah, we discussed already this card. And actually here you probably won't see, but there is Venus in Libra, and Venus is in Libra right now, yeah, and Venus is clashing with the Pluto because the energies are very different and they're in this square hard aspect. So I suppose beware of this, beware of the Pluto-Venus crash during this new moon. But again, I think that if you act from the point of view of thinking what's good to my inner tranquility and peace and serenity first, then I think there shouldn't be too difficult things. It shouldn't be too difficult, I mean, to survive this clash. When I think of it, as I was telling in my introduction, the legend of Inanna going to the netherworld, it is the legend of Venus becoming invisible. And here we have the clash of Venus, this goddess of love, with Pluto, lord of the underworld. Isn't it like what the story was about? And Inanna and Ereshkigal? The beautiful, lovely Venus, all things lovely and feminine, facing the shaman, the dark magician, the transformer of, like, you know, of shapes, the shapeshifter, the healer. In a way, right? Pluto is a healer of traumas. So pay attention to those things, Venusian in square aspect to Pluto. And don't be too harsh to yourself. It is about the inner balance and creating this balance inside yourself. And then our next card, which is under the Princess of Cups card, is the Moon, because we're speaking about the Moon, right? And the Moon is the card, well, of the Moon, but also of, again, water. Water. There is always this Cancer, this crab, which is emerging from the waters of the unknown, of the subconscious, symbolizing the awakening of the rational, the awakening of the mind from this pool of subconscious, you know. So it is all about going deep down and extracting something from your subconscious, from your emotions, from your feelings, you know. And it's again about yin and yang, this card very much, like, you know, because in order to path, you know, there is this always this beautiful path leading to the moon, not the dark moon Lilith, as we were talking previously, but to the full moon, the one which is Casta Diva, the chaste lady, the one which is like, you know, like a beautiful pearl, like a diamond in the skies, like, you know, the one which is absolutely mesmerizing, you know. The presence of the full moon is mesmerizing. And moon, it is the hidden secrets, it is the occult, it is the high priestess sigil, you know. And it is about ascending to all those things, ascending and to grasp, to so that the light of the full moon would be shed on those hidden things inside you. But in order to go through it, again, two pillars of knowledge, the wolf and the white dog, you know. It is, again, like, you know, whatever passage we do, what again is here, the passage, the gate, the threshold, the 7 gates that Inanna needed to go through on her way to hell, you know. And Scorpio is very much about the transition, is about going through the threshold. Is this card, in my opinion, similar to death? Yes, I think this card is similar to death, because it is about making a step through the threshold. So finding yourself in a totally different world, in a new situation, maybe opening some new door for you, like, you know, when one door closes, another door opens. Sometimes when one door closes, the others are locked, you know. That can also be the situation. But it is about finding the way. I very much wish that this deep work, which we are invited to do with the Scorpio energy, is all really like, how does it kind of pouring on us. That this would help you to kind of like, you know, station and think of it and see which doors can be opened, which thresholds need to be trespassed, which step needs to be taken, like, you know. But it is, again, you see the perfect balance on this card. It is, where is this king? I already misplaced it. How similar they are. Here's the eclipse, here's the moon, those two guys, the two pillars, like, you know, the two pillars of the throne, like, you know, here also the tree of life, yeah. And path here, the mountain, the magic mountain, all bathed in a light. The path is so clear. Dreams becoming true. But what leads to it? The dark path, some dodgy trees, darkness, shadows, like, you know, some dodgy forest. That's what needs to be crossed before you can ascend to this Fujiyama mountain, you know, like, to the Mount Fuji, which would lead you to the knowledge. Moon is also the card of the, as you know, the moon is a card of the occult, of esoteric knowledge, of all things alternative. And Scorpio very much as well, yeah. Scorpio is the sign of the hidden mistress, of things that are not known to anybody, you know, things that needs to be found before they actually made manifest, you know. So it might be as an invitation for some of you to commit to, like, you know, reading some books, or reconnected with your astrology chart, thinking of those topics during the new moon, like, you know. Because when we picked up this labradorite stone, yeah, it is about like magic and hidden secrets of the world, and this invisible but exciting world which we can see when we want, like, you know, when which visits us in our dreams and meditations and prayers, in certain visions that certain people experience, you know, in coincidences which blew our mind, because they are not coincidences at all, like, you know, this divine timing and all those synchronicities and seeing 11:11 and all those things. Those are the signs of the presence of the spirit in our lives. We just need to be able to read them, and in order to read them we need this third eye, we need this tranquility inside of us, so that we can notice such things, because such things are happening to absolutely everyone daily, it's just people don't notice them, you know. And this is what the moon is about, yeah. To start looking and listening and being in full attention for those things to penetrate your mind and heart. And then again, like, what a fantastic first vertical we have. So we had this emperor who's about the control. How we get this control? Like this night we are seeing our fears and we are trying to do something with them. And then we got the devil, and the devil is Saturn, and the devil is Capricorn. This again can well speak of this aspect of the new moon to everything that's happening in Capricorn at the moment, to the Jupiter conjunction. But again, there is the full moon. The devil in tarot is the card of being trapped, of being stuck, of being in illusion, of not seeing the situation clearly, of thinking that you're a victim to circumstances of life, that you have no control, that, like, you know, you're a toy in the hands of destiny, that, like, you know, that demons are pushing you towards something that you don't want to do, like, you know, all those cards. But you see, there is this kind of dark devil and very scary with those wings of the bat. But there is also some, I have no clue who he is, but like there is this white thing. There is this white ram. And the only thing I can think of, maybe because he has also the Eye of Horus on top. It has actually Capricorn sigil as well, because it's a Capricorn card. Capricorns are the kind of guardians of the gates of hell, to be honest, very often, I think. But what it reminds me of is that on the Egyptian papyri, you know, you will sometimes see the head of the ram, which is colored in green. In Egyptian papyri, everything which is colored in green, it means it has eternal life. You know, Osiris, the god of the underworld, has green face, you know, because he is representing the eternal life, although he's the god of the death and the underworld. But that's why I'm pushing you to accept, like, you know, we have in the West very dualistic way of thinking, like, you know, death, life, light, darkness. But when we look more at the, like, you know, Eastern religions, and here, like at the Egypt, for example, the god of death, Osiris, the god who is presiding the court over the dead people, he's the god of eternal life. He's green because green is the color of life, you know. And you can see sometimes on those papyri, the ram, it's his face is also green. I don't really remember what it means. I think it means the kind of like soul of the sun, if I'm not mistaken, because sun has very many representations. Yeah, it can be the sun, like a circle of the sun. It can be the scarabæus, you know, this beetle. But I think like the bar, the kind of soul of the sun, it has the shape of this green ram. So what this card is about, it is, as I said, I think that Capricorns and Scorpios, they are very much like, you know, resonating with each other. So we start looking at those fears and trapping them and so on. And as I said, it often happens in the position of lack, of limitation. I talked extensively about it in my introduction. That's what the devil is about. Devil is that when we are unhappy, when we feel trapped, when we feel separated, and probably this is how we all feel. We can't now see our friends, our families, we can't travel. We feel trapped in some sort of like, you know, limbo, separated from each other. Yeah, I suppose devil is very much about separation, and hell is about separation. Hell is a place where there is no God, you know, where there is no divine love, where people are not connected because like there is no connecting spiritual element between them. But even in this card, kind of here, the hell is happening. Two people are suffering in those traps. There is some like, you know, Joker dancing here, Joker, like, you know, the masked person, again, like the clown, the illusion, all those like, you know, creepy things. But on top of this, there is this ram, but also his horns, they resemble a boat, and on the boat there is this moon sitting and the wolf, and it creates, in my opinion, some sort of like, you know, the counterpoint to the sun boat in Egyptian mythology, you know, that the sun, he sits in the boat and he goes to the other world during the night, you know, where he brings light of life to the dead. And here it's like the moon traveling in the boat, and the boat with this divine ram, you know, with this kind of like animal with the, again, eye of Horus here. So again, like the sigil of eternal life. Again, black and white, yeah. So it is ultimately that life triumphs over death, because here is the realm of the death and of feeling stuck and so on. But it is stopped. On top of it, there is light, there is new beginning, there is this boat, yeah. So it is about movement, it is about progressing somewhere, and it is about the triumph of life over death. It is about that there are seeds of life in death, you know, that all things die and you are trapped in order to grow a better understanding of where you would move forward. That's what the trap of devil is about. And the trap of devil is always an illusion, you know, it's always some tampering and some diabolic sound which doesn't allow you to hear what's really going on, to hear the music of spheres, you know. But while your kind of consciousness is ascending to this moon, then you would see that this trap was but an illusion, you know. So it is about this marriage of of black and white, marriage of oppositions, what we call it, but they're not oppositions at all, like, you know, because they condition the existence of one another. And then our next card is the Two of Pentacles. It is the card of new beginnings, of material manifestation, but it is also the card which is like this Galena stone, which we discussed, which asked us to be grounded. As I said, like, you know, we got, to be honest, lots of major arcana for such small reading. And for minor arcana, yeah, that's, to be honest, it's unreal. Emperor, Sun, Moon, the Devil, Justice. It's unreal, to be honest. We got it all. It's a super important moment. I just realized it. Yeah, we do a reading, we count how many minor arcana, how many major arcana. The more major arcana, the more important the reading is. This reading is just a bomb, you know. But this is one of the minor arcana, and it speaks about, like, you know, about all kind of things boring and seemingly insignificant, about balancing different tasks in your life, about being punctual, about good time management, not rushing things. The whole exude of Pentacle, it is basically the narrative of the seed, you know. We get the Ace of Pentacle, which is like this promise of material manifestation. The Two of Pentacles, the stage of planning, and then, like, you know, the Three of Pentacles is about cooperation with the others, like, and so on. Then Seven of Pentacles, you kind of put the seed. Eight of Pentacles, you water it, it's growing. Nine of Pentacles, it's like already there. 10 of Pentacles, abundance, the seed is bringing fruit, like, you know, bringing results, material abundance and bliss and so on. So here we're at the initial stage of planting those seeds. As I said, like, the new moon is the time to plant seeds, like our intentions in the darkness, you know. It is this moment of stationing, but it is also the moment of having, yeah, kind of sitting in darkness and just thinking of those black and white horses inside of you. Here it's again two. We got again two. It's all about dualism. The two elements need to be brought into peace, need to be kind of married and united into one, like Inanna and Ereshkigal. And here I think it is a very gentle and kind of like very gentle, like small nod of a head that, okay, like, you know, we were here in super high, like, you know, transcendental realm of emotions and, like, you know, subconscious and all those things, but, like, there is a material seed in it too, like, you know, okay, go forward. Yeah, you can think a little bit about what you want to manifest in your real life, and Pentacles are about physical things, material things, manifestation, visible, tangible objects. So yeah, this can be done as well, but if you look at it, this is like eternity, this is black, this is white. There are two elements. There is again the dualism in this card of yin and yang, and the Libra as well. Libra and the kind of two sides of the coin, which is ultimately the same coin, not their positions, you know, and the balance of things. And yeah, and this card is just under this one. So if you look like this, the scales here and the scales here, you know. And the last card for it is Temperance, and Temperance is the card of Sag, and we are going now, we are moving slowly into the Sagittarius season, yeah. So I don't know what to say. I don't think I need to repeat anything. There is the golden river of life to the sun, the silver river to the moon, like, you know, yin and yang, yin, sorry, and yang, all the things like sunny and active, and all the things moony. And then there is the angel, and the angel has two cups in which he's mixing those waters. I think this is kind of the ultimate advice. I was repeating myself. I'm really sorry for those who are bored already listening to me for this reading. But yeah, that's for people who didn't get it from the first sentence, for people who are slow like myself. It's just, yeah, you take a cup from one river, you take a cup from the second river, and you mix them together. That's what Temperance is about. Temperance is alchemy. But look again, the Justice was steeping her sword into the river of the unconscious, into the waters of the unconscious. And here same, the angel, the archangel, is creating those like alchemy. He's creating this, like, you know, gold, this philosophical stone out of the good parts and the bad parts and the, like, you know, hidden parts and the not that hidden parts of your personality, you know, creating a mixture, creating something new, ultimately taking, like, you know, the parts of your soul as ingredients, taking your interests, thinking what you like, what you don't like anymore, like, you know, where you want to see yourself in 5 years, you know, this job interview question. It's a poor joke, I know, sorry. And bringing it all together, like, you know, and creating a new you from it, creating a totally different thing from it, like, you know, bringing yourself through this fiery furnace of the alchemical transformation and transcend and be born as something new. And his feet is still touching what is here, the new moon, Scorpio new moon, and Scorpio realm, the waters of the abyss, waters of the underworld, waters of the subconscious, you know. What a beautiful reading. So before we stop, I wanted to share something with you. I picked up actually for myself a card from the Sufi Wisdom Oracle. So, but I really wanted to share it with you because I thought that it was such a perfect moment that it came, and I want to share it with you because I talked a little bit about it today in the introduction and today when we had the Devil card. And the card that I got when I was doing a small oracle reading for myself is: limitation is power. Lean into your limitations. Please have a look. In Sufi wisdom, yeah, there is an element which is kind of called the void, if I'm not mistaken, and it is this kind of like the chance, yeah, the fact that God can intervene at any moment, that you can hope but you can never be sure, like, you know. And it is the fact that you are thinking about this element of this divine intervention, it makes you realize that you're constantly limited, that basically at any moment things can go not as planned, you know. And it is, this thought as such is extremely limiting because you know that the divine can intervene at any moment and you don't have much things under control. But ultimately there is an extreme liberation from this thought, because limitations, when we accept them, when we surrender to them, and as I was talking, like, we are all very limited at the moment in our lives, you know. This gives us this necessary momentum to understand what we lack and to reconsider certain things and to harness powers from our limitations. Because when we're limited, we start pondering how to act, what to change in order to get out from those limitations. And I suppose this was a very timely advice from the Oracle, especially during the second lockdown and all those things, that when you fully acknowledge your limitations, then you see where you need to change, where you need to transition, where you need to trespass the threshold. And that's very much our Scorpionic thing. I hope you liked it. I hope it was useful. I'm sorry if I was repeating myself 100 times. Sorry for those who are waiting for this sign by sign oracle reading. We will do it next time. And for now, I still hope this would give you some food for thought and have a very blessed, I hope you'll have a very blessed new moon in Scorpio. I think it's extremely beautiful new moon. And I'm wishing you all the very best and a very good week. And I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye.